the novel coronavirus from patients with pneumonia in China 2019. This is the study. Whenever they discover a new virus, they have to basically they have to publish a paper about it, okay? So this is the paper that they published when they supposedly discovered SARS or COVID-19. Okay. So what was I gonna say here? So what's the problem here? Let's talk this virus. So this is I'm trying to show you how this type of thinking, how it affects you. It's not just some airy fairy thing that doesn't affect you. Like the shape of the earth, maybe that doesn't affect you, right? Or whether evolution is true or not. Okay, whatever. I guess most people believe it, but you don't believe it. Whatever, it doesn't matter, right? But I'm talking about something that's deeper, that it actually affects your life. Evolution things and the shape of the earth, that affects you too, but maybe you don't get it. But this thing affected you, right? For 2 years, they shut down the whole world economy. People lost their jobs. People had to walk around with masks. People had to take this weird injection and stuff, right? But virology today is not like virology. Well, I don't know. Virology never really was science. It never really was, It's not science in the biblical or classical sense. It doesn't follow any kind of inductive testable framework. And it's not falsifiable. It's a new mythology. These little things that'll come and kill you if you don't, watch out and take your injections and all this stuff, But it's driven by these untestable models, circular logic, and all these linguistic tricks that they do to try to create confusion in us, okay? Let me try to show you what I'm talking about here. So when this thing came out, sorry, hang on a sec. So remember the Daniel thing, right? You observe the thing, then you test it, then you compare, right? That's the real science. It's inductive, it's falsifiable, and it's repeatable. You could repeat the same experiment with Daniel and those other guys, and it would have got the same result. Every time you do it, it's the same result. That's repeatability. Okay, now let's contrast it with this one. Now, these people say what they're claiming, right, is that they found these people with a cluster of patients with pneumonia of unknown cause. It was linked to seafood in a wholesale market in Wuhan, China, right? So then what they did was they collected the lung fluid from these people, okay? It's been a while since I looked at this paper, but anyway, they collected lung fluid from these people, and then they claimed the virus was isolated, and then they grew it in a culture, and then when they put that culture and they put the virus in the culture, then it damaged the cells, what they call cytopathic effect, and then they took the virus and they claimed this is their claim. They claimed that they sequenced the genome of the virus. And then the virus was declared to be this new virus, this new coronavirus, right? And that it was contagious and that it was dangerous, okay? But what they actually did was not that, okay? Now, reminder, when we say isolating the virus, right? We don't mean just putting like some cells and getting some RNA. We mean that you have to physically separate the virus from everything else that's in its vicinity. Just completely have the virus by itself. Isolate the virus, right? And then you can actually prove that it causes a disease. But that's not what they did. Now, let me try to show you what they did. First of all, they never did a true isolation. They didn't separate the virus from all the other material, okay? What they did was, this is the thing, isolation of the virus, okay? Bronchoalveolar lavage fluid samples were collected in sterile cups. So what they did was they took the lung fluid. This is lung fluid. Bronchoalveolar lavage fluid is lung fluid. Okay, so they took it out, they put it in cups. All right, and then what they did was they put it in a centrifuge. Samples were then centrifuged to remove cellular debris. So a centrifuge is this machine that spins it around, and then all the stuff goes to the end of the like the test tube or whatever, right? So depending on like how dense the thing is, so the densest things will go to the end of the tube, and then the less dense things will be over on this end. So if you spin it in the thing, you can like actually see the gradient of how dense the different materials are. All right. So they did that. Then they took that, and the thing that they take out of the centrifuge, they call that supernatant. Okay, so they took that and put it onto the air the cells from a person's lung, like the airway or something. They took the cells out of there. They had a cell culture, and they put the supernatant onto that. Okay, but it's like dumb because that doesn't like. There's so many different particles and different things in there, in the supernatant. It's not like they isolated the virus. That's how you would have to do it. That's what they call like Koch's postulates. I should have explained that maybe. Koch's postulates. Let me see if I have that here. Do I have my notes here about that? Anyway, I guess I should have explained that. But anyway, if you think about it, think about what the way they're supposed to do it, right? Is they're supposed to take the thing, isolate the virus, okay? Isolate it by itself, then put it in a healthy host, okay? And then if that host then gets the same symptoms, then it's kind of like demonstrates that that's the thing that caused it, right? And then you're supposed to actually, from that host, you're supposed to be able to isolate the virus again. That's actual proof that, okay, you can still, that's the thing, it was still in him, and it could still, that's the thing that caused it. Okay? But they didn't do anything like that. They just took this thing from the centrifuge. It's got like thousands of little particles in it and all kinds of things in it. It's like there's no way to know, right? And then they took that. And then they took that, and then they looked at it in a microscope. But in the microscope, you can see. Let me show you this thing in the microscope. It's absolutely insane. Like this is what they say. First of all, look at this. Look at this, man. Look at this. This is the cell culture before, and this is the cell culture after, right? So they're like, look, that's because of the virus, you know? But they don't even know. They don't know. They didn't put the virus in there by itself to say, okay, the virus must be what caused it. They didn't do that. They just put a bunch of like the stuff from the centrifuge. Who knows how many things are in there, man? Let me show you the thing that they look. Look at this. Look at this, man. This is what they looked at. This is what when they look at the thing that they had in the cell culture, they looked at it in the microscope, right? All this stuff, it's got all these different things in there, man. There's no way to know what caused that. Which one of those things caused the cells to do this? Or even maybe something else caused the cells to do that. Maybe it's the thing that they put the cells in caused it to do that. They put like salt water on it all the time. If you read this paper, it's like it tells you all their whole process, right? I'm not going to go through everything right now because it's kind of going to take a long time, but so they dumped this lung fluid, which they just ran in a centrifuge. They just dump it into this cell culture, right? And so it's full of all kinds of things, man. There's bacteria here. There's other cells. There's other unknown material. Who knows what all this stuff is? They're trying to tell you. See these things with the arrows? You're just like, oh, look, those are viruses. So that proves that we had a virus. And look, and then they close up. This is the close up of these things with the arrows. So this is like, oh, look, it's a virus. It's a coronavirus. We got it. We proved it. But it's so stupid. They don't even know this is a virus. They don't even know that. It could be something else. It could be what there's these things called exosomes. They look exactly like a virus. It could be that. They don't know. They have no way of proving that this is a virus. They don't know. Okay? I'm not even done yet. This is more stuff. They didn't have a control group. If you read this paper, they don't talk about any kind of control group. I think they mentioned one little thing, one line. They say something like they had some other comparison group or something, but they don't tell you about like the differences. That's how the experiment's supposed to do it, right? They explain the difference between the control group. Like when I mean a control group is like the when Daniel and them had the experiment, right? The Babylonian kids, they were the control group, and then Daniel and his friends, they're the sample group. Okay, they're the ones that you're doing the experiment on, and the other group is like they're existing under the same conditions in every aspect except for this one thing. They changed the food. So then when you see a change in the different groups, you can ascribe that to the food. You can say, okay, everything was the same with them except for the food. So that's what you do when you do an experiment like this. You have a control group and you have another group, which is the sample group. And that's the one group that you change that one thing. So you add the virus. The other group, you don't add the virus, right? But they didn't even do that. They didn't have that. Or maybe they did or something, but it doesn't. Normally, you would explain that. You would tell the difference. You would show us the data on the two different groups. They didn't do anything like that. It doesn't exist in this paper. That did not happen. Okay. Now they might claim that it did, but they would tell us all that stuff. They would give us all that data. They didn't do anything like that. So they dump this. So they dump this stuff. They dump this into the cell culture, and they just go, oh well, whatever happens to it, it's because of the virus. Even though all these other things are in there, we don't know what caused that thing, and it might be just their own system might have caused the cells to do that. We don't even know. And so when the cells got sick, quote unquote, like this is. According to them, they're saying these cells are sick now, right? They have the cytopathic effects or whatever. So they blame the virus now, right? But it could have been anything. It could have been antibiotics. They're putting antibiotics in this thing. They're putting like other things. They're putting like salt water. They wash it with salt water all the time. Or it could have been that they're just starving. The cells are starving or just stressed from the lab or something. It could have been a million things, right? Without isolating the virus, you have no way of knowing what caused those things to happen. There's no way to know. And then the other thing is when they say they tell you that they got a genome, they isolated the virus and they got the genome of the virus, right? That's not what happened, man. That's not what happened. What they do is it's so utterly dumb. They take this thing called the PCR test, right? And they go in to like that lung fluid. They go into this lung fluid. And they don't extract the virus with the PCR test. They just extract this piece of RNA, like a little piece of RNA, like a little piece, like a little out of like this thing will have like a genome will have like 30,000 gene locations, right? And they'll just take this little piece of RNA, and they'll say, oh, look, this is a piece of RNA that we only find in coronaviruses, so this must be from a coronavirus. And then what they do, it's unbelievable. Like they don't even pull a virus out and take the genome out of the virus and test the genome. They don't do that. They take that thing, they put it in a computer. They take the RNA data that they had from this thing. They found some RNA, quote unquote, with the PCR test, and they put it in a computer, and then the computer then reconstructs the whole genome. Based on like they have these things called. Anyway, it's complicated, but they have this thing called contigs and they build it up. But none of the things, it's just overlapping like stuff, like just random data that they're just building up into this thing. And they know that they're looking for a kind of coronavirus type of genome. So they just kind of build that out of the RNA and other things that they have. They just go, oh, okay, if we take this, we take this, we take this, then that would mean that you have a full genome of a coronavirus. And it's a different coronavirus than we've had before, so it's a novel coronavirus. But it's almost like they're looking for something, right? So they look for the thing that they're looking for, and then they find it, of course, right? So it's like they assume that there's going to be this genome of a virus, the PCR test is built to find a virus of a specific genome, you know? And he says, see, look, it detects the virus, but it detected the thing that you wanted it to detect. So it's not a test, it's not a valid test, it's complete circular reasoning. This is like, I'm just pointing out different problems with what they did here. It's completely unscientific nonsense. Okay? And also, by the way, like that's what I was going to tell you. There's this thing called Koch's postulates. Okay, so you're supposed to isolate the virus, then you give it to a healthy host, like a person or an animal or something. Then when they get the same illness, then you say, okay, then that's probably what happened. Then you have to take that. Then you have to. The next step is to take that person's like lung fluid or whatever, and take the virus out of it. That would be the only way you could then prove that the virus actually caused the sickness. They didn't do any of those things. And they admitted here. They admitted actually, Let me show you that. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Although our study does not fulfill Koch's postulates, our analyses provide evidence implicating sorry man, I don't know if this is hard to read for you guys. Although our study does not fulfill Koch's postulates, our analyses provide evidence implicating 2019 NCOV, that's COVID-19, right? In the Wuhan outbreak. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. They didn't provide any evidence. This is nonsense. Complete utter nonsense. And actually, virology is like this. All virology, they've never performed a test in virology that fulfills Koch's postulates. They cannot, because viruses can't exist without like a host, you know? If viruses are a real thing, I don't even know if they are, because they've never proven it. They've never done this Koch's postulate thing I was just telling you about. They've never done that with a virus. So there's no scientific reason to even think viruses make people sick or viruses are even a real thing, you know? But because of their false like critical thinking, that's what we have now, you know? So just like with the space science, just like with the other things, right? There's no observable test. Like Daniel, that's an observable test. You can observe the difference based on the test. With this type of thing, you cannot do that. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. You cannot fulfill Koch's postulates with a virus. You cannot do it. Okay? And in the Daniel experiment, you had a sample group, Daniel, and then you had the other group, the control group, the Babylonian kids. Here, there's no control. There's no control group. I didn't see any evidence of it. And then with the Daniel thing, you have one variable is changed. That's what the experiment is. Like you have the sample and the control, and then you change one variable, only one, or maybe two max or whatever. But you change like a few, but you don't. I think it's supposed to be only one maybe, but sometimes people do change a couple. But the fact is, you only change these variables in the sample, and then it's easy. You can track. Or you're like, okay, whatever change we see in the sample, we're gonna ascribe that change to the variable that we adjusted, right? But with this thing, there's like countless unknown variables. What was in that soup that they put in the cell thing? What was in that? We don't know. They didn't put one virus in. They just put all this different stuff. They put just a bunch of like lung fluid soup in there with all kinds of different things in it. Who knows what's in there, you know? And then this and the Daniel method, right? The thing about the Daniel method and proper experimentation is that it can be repeated by other people. Other independent actors could just easily repeat it. Whereas this one, it's so the amount of technology they use to like reconstruct the virus with their computer models and This is a computer model that they use to reconstruct the virus and all this stuff. Like you need like it's very expensive. It's very like high tech stuff, right? You can't just normal people can't do this, or just like a regular scientist. You have to be part of their virology world to even try to make this happen, you know? But the thing is, in our system, no one can question them. They are the experts of virology. So you have to be part of their system to even question their system, question their science. You know, if I go up to them and say, "Hey, by the way, what about this, this, and this?" They're just gonna say, "No, you're not an expert. Shut up." That's all that they do. That's how they're able to continue this false science and push this stuff onto you. It's the technocracy, you know? And the Daniel thing is like inductive experimentation, right? Whereas this thing is this model. It's like model making. And it's weird. It preserves their own model. It preserves their own way of seeing it, you know? Because if there's any problem with it, they just say, "Oh, well, you don't know. We'll fix it," and then they just fix it up. They just change their model, or they just change whatever, you know. So our system is meant to find the truth. Their system is meant to preserve their model, their virus model, or whatever, you know. So anyway, so I would challenge you, like, if people want to say, "Oh, people died," or whatever, well, maybe people died because of a virus. Maybe they died because of other things, and they're just calling it this virus. People die of pneumonia, flu, and other things, and they call it the virus. There might have been other things too, because they changed the whole protocol of all the hospitals, and people were panicking, people were freaking out, people thought it was the end of the world. So all of that stuff causes death. Like in old folks' homes, the way they were isolating those people, that's where a lot of the death happened too, by the way, in the old people homes. And they were isolating those people, and it's ridiculous. And then they had this thing with the respirators. They were sticking these respirators on people's throat. Wickedness. So they're probably causing death. It's called iatrogenic death. It's one of the leading causes of death is iatrogenic death. That is, the medical practitioner causes the death. That's one of the leading causes of death in our society, okay? So the idea that, well, people died, therefore COVID is real, that's not the case, okay? That's not logical, that's not scientific, that's not any kind of reasonable way to understand this, okay? So I would just challenge you, if you want me to explain this further or whatever, I can do that. But ask your doctor, or ask your professor, or ask whoever. Like, ask them, can they produce a purified sample of the SARS-CoV-2 virus? You know, can like directly from a human or whatever, isolated, photographed with an electron microscope, and characterized and given a genome and all this stuff? They can't do it. This is how they did it. It's not true. They never isolated it. They never produced a genome from the actual virus. Okay? They never even performed an experiment with a proper control or anything. It's utterly dumb. And they shut down the whole world for 2 years because of this false science.
Okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike, Sam, Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you wanna support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shields. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks, becoming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike Sampat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.